welcome to episode 11 of the SomerKnits podcast. This is a podcast primarily about knitting where I share my finished objects, what I'm working on, plans for the future, and occasionally acquisitions. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and if you're new here, welcome. I hope that you have something cozy to drink and something to work on, and just join me for a little knitting chat. Today, I actually did make myself a cozy little corner because it's been such a chaotic few weeks that I was just trying to give myself a little bit of peace as part of doing the podcast this time. So I do have a nice cup of double ginger tea from Adagio. And I like loose leaf teas a lot, so I order from them. This has no caffeine in it, and it's a really spicy tea. So I drink it a lot when I don't feel good, actually, but it's just a nice, I don't know, it's soothing in kind of a special way. But I do highly recommend it if you love ginger and you like spicy. So it is double ginger from Adagio Teas, and it has ginger, green rooibos, red peppercorn, natural ginger flavor, black peppercorn, orange, marigold flowers, strawberries, peach, and orange. So really good tea, especially when it's cold outside, which it's not super cold this afternoon. It's actually really pleasant. My kids have spent quite a bit of time outside today and really enjoyed the weather. This morning we had a Christmas parade in town, and my daughter got to march in that, and that was a lot of fun. I did also light myself a candle. This is the Be Still candle from the Creative Knitter. It was part of a collection she did last spring, and I got the whole collection, the yarn and the candle and the wool wash and everything, and it all coordinates, and the scent is just amazingly relaxing, and I just can't say enough good things. And I also, side tangent, ordered her Advent, her Brights Advent, because I do like a lot of color. And that has arrived, and it's taking everything in me not to open it. I don't want to start any of it till December 1st, but I ordered that months ago, and so it's really exciting that it's here. But so moving into the knitting, what I'm wearing, I think that I presented the striped sweater in my first episode, but I don't remember 100%. And I actually wore it yesterday, and I know it's hard to tell in this lighting. I've got some very harsh light coming from above because our vaulted ceiling living room has a big high window, and the angle of the light right now, so it's causing a lot of shadows. But we're going with it because it's the best natural light in the house right now. But my hair actually coordinates really well with some of the darker bits in both this yarn and this yarn. So outside in the sun, it actually all coordinates really well, and I was kind of surprised because I didn't actually plan that yesterday when I put it on, and then I realized it like partway through the day, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So wearing this because it's cozy. I had on my Felix sweater again this morning while we were outside because it's just like, it's like wearing a hug. It's like wearing a blanket. The alpaca is just so soft and drapey, and I still am 100% in love with that sweater. Cannot say enough good things about it. So if you choose to knit a Felix sweater, just know that I loved that pattern. It was great. It flew off the needles. It's so nice to wear. The alpaca yarn with the fingering weight yarn turned out to be a perfect combination, and I'm still absolutely in love with that sweater. So I don't actually have any recent finished objects. Not since the last podcast. I don't even know if I had any recent finished objects on that podcast. But I have a lot of things I've been working on because I have been knitting a lot recently, and I'm getting really close on a number of things. So we'll start with the closest thing to finished. So I believe that I showed this fox hood previously when I had not yet done the seam for the top. So I've done the seam and I've made the ears, but they're not all the way sewn down. So they're just attached at the corners right now because I was just working on placement. The hood itself, so I was having a hard time figuring out how the ears on her hoods always look so perky in the pictures. And then I would make a hood, because this is the third one I've made, and the ears would flop. See how they kind of flop down? I have not woven in the ends on the inside completely. I've done some, but I haven't trimmed them. So see how they kind of flop down on the sides, and they're not staying like perky on top of the head? And they do in the pattern picture. They stay perky up on top of the head. Well, I realized when it says to roll the seed stitch back and tack it down, that it really meant like give it a really good, solid roll and sew. Because it only says to tack it in the center of the top. It does not say to like sew it all the way around. So you're supposed to roll the seed stitching back and just tack it at the top, and that's supposed to keep the whole thing rolled, and then there's 2 buttons that go at the bottom just for pretties, but also to keep it rolled under. Well, I realized when you roll it under, and these will be sewn down better, the more firmly you roll it back, the better your ears stand up. So I'm going to untack it at that one little center point, and I am going to roll it more solidly, and I'm going to sew the ears down the rest of the way. And then the ears will actually stand up. So I'm glad I figured that out, because I didn't want to give a droopy-eared cowl as a Christmas present. I do think maybe I went a little bit long on the body, but it is supposed to be like really snuggly. You can pull it down over your shoulders if you need to, just to be warm and cozy. And I look really silly, but that's okay. So this is for my sister-in-law. So I'm sure that I have just done terrible things to my hair, and that is okay. So almost done. Tack the ears down, re-sew, get 2 buttons for the front. So that will be a Christmas present off the list. And I really didn't think I was going to have enough yarn, but I made it. So the next closest finished object is actually something I talked about previously, but I've never shown before, because I started this sweater in like 2006 or 2007, so really long time ago. It's been through a couple of moves, all boxed up. Luckily, it was packed really well with cedar blocks and lavender sachets and everything, because it's a very woolly wool, and it had no damage, and everything is fine, except that my knitting gauge has clearly changed over time. But I'm making it work, and I really, really thought that I was going to run out of yarn on this. So it's really hard to color match yarn that you bought like 15 years ago, and you're not even sure if they still make. Maybe they do still make it. I haven't even looked it up. This is Queensland Kathmandu, and the color is not showing well on here. It is purple, but it's showing up really dark. It is a dark purple, like an eggplant color, and this is a sweater that I started for my dad like a million years ago. It feels like a million years ago. Okay, 15, close to 15. So the pattern was from a creative knitting magazine in 2006. So before so many patterns were available digitally, and I spent less time, I guess, online and whatever. So I mostly used books and magazines, and I'm not sure what drew me to this pattern. I can pull out the magazine. Sorry, this is a little just discombobulated, but creative knitting from September 2006, and it was in the magazine called the Subtle Stripes Pullover, because they used a self-striping yarn, and then it has kind of a basket weave pattern that I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see in the darker yarn on the screen. It shows up nicely in person, and it calls for a worsted weight yarn, and clearly I chose an Aran weight yarn, and it calls for a US size 6 needle. And when I pulled it out of the bag, I had it on size 7s. And these days I always go down a needle size. And so I was like, okay, this is the needle I was using. I'll try that. And clearly my gauge has changed, and I was definitely knitting bigger than I had originally knit. And so it's been an interesting experience trying to figure out where I was and get farther. I had done everything except for the top of one sleeve and the joining of the sweater. What possessed me to make a pieced sweater is beyond me, but I think back then I'd never made a sweater in the round. The only sweater I'd made before was for myself, and I think it was pieced. I hate sewing seams. Like, I hate seaming. Like, why did I do this to myself? I don't even know. So, this is the sweater for my dad, and I have not finished sewing it up. So I just finished the neckband this afternoon, actually, while my kids were playing outside. I did finish and bind off the neck. And then you are supposed to, these are the sleeves, these giant floppy things. These are the sleeves. So you're supposed to sew the sleeves down first before you try to do the side seams. I'm not sure why. According to the directions, you are supposed to. I know that is not reading well. Oh, there, maybe some light. I don't know if you'll be able to see the pattern in the knitting, but it is all that basket weave pattern. And then down the sleeves are reverse stockinette with a ribbed panel down the center of the sleeves. So, and you can see that there's tweedy bits. You can see when the light hits it just right. There are tweedy bits in the Kathmandu Aran yarn. So like I said, it's a dark purple, but it's got all these little flecks of other colors. It is like a color my dad would wear well, and we will see how it goes. I have this fear that it's going to be giant, and I need to just sew the seams and see what it looks like finished, because I don't know. I guess it's not that big. It just feels that big because all these pieces are all just flopping around, and I was so scared I was going to run out of yarn. So like I finished attaching, because the method of attaching the sleeves, you end up doing a bridge across the shoulder. So you put the front, the sleeve, and the back on the needles, and you're like knitting across the sleeve and grabbing a stitch, and knitting across the sleeve and grabbing a stitch, and back and forth. And I really, really was concerned I wasn't going to make it. So I did make it. But then I was like really concerned about the collar, because I just didn't remember how much yarn any of this took. But this was all I had left, was this little bit from one sleeve and this little bit from the other sleeve. So I managed to finish the collar, and now I should have enough to sew everything up. It should be okay. But I'm totally going to weigh it when I'm done and see how close I was. I did look up the other projects from this pullover on Ravelry, and at least one person noted that the yardage notated in the pattern was not enough. So I'm not alone in the freaking out that I'm going to run out of yarn, because apparently that did happen to somebody else. But I think it'd be really nice to finish this and get it blocked and actually give it to my dad for Christmas, because the year I actually started this sweater, I put all the pieces in a bag and he opened it for Christmas, and then I feel terrible. I never finished it. And I'm not sure why, if it was the piecing, if I got to a point that I didn't understand the pattern anymore, because it took me a few times of reading that pattern to understand the shoulder saddle that you were trying to do to attach the shoulders. So, and I can look at my notes from back then and see that it was a charted pattern, and I had gone through line by line and written it out in notebook paper and like checked off each row as I did it, which is what I used to do with a lot of patterns, especially if I was really afraid I would forget to increase and stuff. I would write out all the rows on a piece of paper, and I can probably show you one. Just don't laugh at my terrible handwriting. What did I do with the magazine? Just a second. Okay, I'm gonna leave that in so you can see me losing my mind occasionally. So, I used to take patterns and write out the rows, and you can see that I've spilled coffee on this at some point because can't knit without coffee, and then check them off as I did them. So these were the 22 pattern rows, and you needed to work until 16 inches apparently. And so I had rows 1 through 22, and I checked them off as I went, and apparently I did same for the back, except you were supposed to go 8 rows less. So I had made that note. And then for the sleeves, luckily I had made myself notes. So when I did open the yarn, I do have like the ball band from back when I got it. The Kathmandu Aran is 85% merino wool, 10% silk, and 5% cashmere. And it is fairly sheepy. Like, when I was knitting on it last night, I was kind of sniffing it. My husband was looking at me like I was a crazy person. But that's okay. It is a fairly sheepy yarn, and it is definitely a hand wash. But it's lovely. It's been lovely to work with. Like, it's been lovely, and the hands. It's got so much squish and bounce to it. But, I just didn't even know if I could find that anymore. But when I went to finish the sleeve that was unfinished, I had a notes page that I had clearly made myself that had every increase row written in, and apparently I had stopped right here. Like, I didn't even have much left on the second sleeve. And so I just followed my notes, increased when it said to, and then stopped when it was even with the first sleeve. So I knew exactly how I'd done the first sleeve and how much I'd done on the second sleeve, because apparently I used to make way better notes than I do now. So that was very helpful. Thank you, past me, for helping future me. So that is a project I've been devoting my evenings to while I watch TV or sit around after the kids have gone to bed and it's peaceful and quiet. And I hope to do the seaming this evening so that then I can get it blocked. I have a feeling it's such a thick, lovely yarn, but I have a feeling it's going to take a while to dry in the blocking process. So I would like to allow a good amount of time for that. And I really want to measure it as I lay it out and make sure that it actually looks like a reasonable size for my dad and that it's going to fit, because, you know, it's kind of sad to give somebody something that just isn't going to work. So I'm excited about that one. Let's see. The next thing, I don't think I've made a ton of progress since I last showed you, but I really don't remember what point it was at when I showed you last. So we've got the good old raglan, and you can see I've still got the bottom on needles, but I decided to do the sleeves to see where I got with the yarn to figure out if I wanted to do the bottom ribbing in the navy or if I was going to have enough of the firefly to do the bottom ribbing. So I've started the sleeves, and I'm still on the first. Like, I just did one stripe of the navy and I'm back into the firefly, and I've only done one round of that. So it's not a lot, but it's something. So I think it's a bit longer than it was when I showed you last, because I've got 4 stripes of the navy, and I've done a full stripe of the firefly at the bottom. And like I said, I need to figure out if it's going to be the firefly or the navy for the bottom ribbing. I actually think it would look really nice with the navy, but we'll see. This color is actually showing up fairly well on the screen. You can see all that bright green, and the navy is so dark it looks almost black. But it's really gorgeous, and it's so soft. Um, so I want to get that done for my son for Christmas, but also at lunch today, he's like, so where are my socks? And I'm like, child, I just made you a hat. And he's like, yeah, the socks to match my hat. I'm like, I'll get there. So he's 6 and he loves things that are made just for him. And I guess I really do need to capitalize on that while it's the case, because eventually he'll probably be too cool to wear things that mom made. Um, who knows? But I enjoy the fact that he gets really excited about things that I make for him and that he wants to be involved in the process and everything. Um, he doesn't sit still super well, but he's really coordinated with his hands. Like, he builds amazing structures and designs things and has all these ideas. So I actually, because he is so coordinated with his hands, want to see if he wants to sit down and learn to knit at some point. And I can start him off with something easy where he can just knit round and round. My daughter, she wasn't as coordinated with her hands. So I think she was probably 7 or 8 before she learned to knit. But maybe, I think it was 7. But he's so good with those things. Like, his motor skills are excellent. So I just think maybe if he has the patience, and that's what I'm not sure about, if he has the patience to learn to knit, or if he's just going to be like, no, I want you to make it. So we'll see. But I want to finish the sweater. I do want to get him some socks made. I was trying to decide on a pattern because it is like a sport weight sock yarn. It's not quite a DK weight, even though it says it. It's Regia. It says DK on it, but when I did the hat pattern that should have been DK weight, it felt very thin. So I don't feel like it's quite DK weight. It didn't fluff much when I blocked it. It did a little, but not a lot. So for the socks, I don't want them to be too loose in gauge, but I don't want them to be too stiff either. So I'm looking for a good pattern. Feel free to throw a suggestion in the comments. It is a rainbow self-striping yarn, so I don't want to lose that in the pattern. I want something really simple. I was considering something with ribbing just because it would hug his little foot better. But any ideas you have, just throw those out there because I'm always open to suggestion. The other thing that I haven't probably done a ton on, but I did put some time into the body while the kids were doing various things, and you're not even going to be able to tell. I had just split for the sleeves when I showed you guys my elf mail last, and now I've done a little bit on the body, but it's still really tiny. So I'm glad I extended the knit along because, good gracious, I am not anywhere near done. And I don't even know if I'll get it done by the end of the year, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try really hard because it is so beautiful. I mean, the colors are just stunning. And it does feel good in my hands, and I've finally gotten into a good rhythm with it where I feel good when I work on it. The problem is that I have all these goals for Christmas, and so I'm having to pick and choose what to work on, and I keep casting things on because I can't help myself, and there's something else I'd like to cast on this evening if I can get the seaming done on the sweater. But speaking of cast-ons, I did cast on for the InstaFriends KAL, the knit-along that Andrea Mowry designed the pattern for it, and it's hosted by Wax and Wool and Shop La Mercerie, I think. I'll link all the things. And I showed my yarn and my minis last time. I have not gotten far, people. Like, not at all. But I do at least have 2 stripes now. So that you start at the collar. So this is the top. So I've got a pink and a yellow, if you can see that so far. So the next stripe will be green. So it'll be the green to come next. And then, there's a purple and a blue also. So it's going to be those 5 Easter Peeps colors, and that is the Stria cardigan that is part of the InstaFriends KAL. And It's totally a casual knit along, no pressure. Anyone's welcome to join. This is the pattern. So it is a lightweight half fisherman's rib, skinny stripe cardigan. And I was really excited because I've been holding on to that set of minis, I don't know, a year and a half or so now, maybe almost 2 years, and hadn't decided what to do with them. Like, I saw them in the ladies' shop and I had to buy them because the colors spoke to me, and it needed to be a garment. Like, they needed to be part of a garment. And originally, I was going to put them as part of the Vintage 83 sweater, which is also an Andrea Mowry pattern. And it's got 3 colors of brioche in stripes up in the collar. And so I was actually going to use them as the brioche in the collar, and then also the ribbing for the sleeves, it's short sleeves, and the bottom, and just have it be like all this color, and then the body of the sweater is white. But the pattern's really written for more of a lace weight to be held with the fingering weight yarn as the brioche, so that you get just kind of a fuzzy halo of color for 3 stripes. And I was afraid it would get too thick and it'd end up awkward looking, so I didn't do that. And I held on. My camera freezes at least once an episode. Anyway, so I held on to it, and I just waited for the perfect thing to present itself, and I didn't know what that was going to be. And then I saw that cardigan, and I was like, that's awesome. So I did cast on for that. I probably will not finish that by the end of the knit along, because the knit along only goes through December 31st. And there's other priorities that I have right now. It's something I truly want, but my finish goal time is more like before Easter, because I feel like those are the colors I wear in the spring. And even though I wear bright colors all year round, like, it's a lightweight cardigan, and I feel like it'll be perfect in the springtime here. So I'm very excited about it. But it's going to be slow. Like, I do a few rows at a time, and then I have to work on something else. It is on size 2, US size 2 needles. So it is teeny tiny needles, and teeny tiny yarn. And it is 50 rows to 4 inches. So to get 4 inches of cardigan, you're doing 50 rows of that half fisherman's rib, and you're striping every, I don't remember now, 8 maybe? I don't remember. You're striping and changing colors, and there's going to be all these ends to weave in, and it's just going to be things. So taking my time and not putting pressure on myself with that one. I'm definitely a product knitter, and I do want that end product, like, a lot. It's beautiful. So it'll happen eventually. It'll happen. Let's see. Oh yes, other cast-ons. I had been telling you guys that I was going to make my husband socks with this yarn, and I've been saying that for a while. I've been saying that for years. I've probably been saying that since I bought this yarn. And it's really, really, I don't know, it's thin in the hands. I mean, I know sock yarn is thin, but, like, it's not a 4-ply, it's a 2-ply, and it doesn't have any stretch to it. It doesn't feel like it does. I mean, it does once you knit it, but it just feels thinner even than most sock yarn in the hand. And so when I cast on and I did a cuff of a sock, I wasn't loving it. And maybe it'll bloom when I block it. Like, did I do that? No. Do I gauge swatch for socks? No. So I don't know. I wanted to cast on the DRK everyday socks, because that's the next pair of socks I want to make for my husband, because I feel like he needs a really well-fitting pair, and the ribbing makes those a little bit more forgiving, and I can't just try them on him as I go if I want them to be a surprise. So that was my goal anyway. And then I changed my mind. So I actually cast on Musselburgh, dunno, cast on a hat. So it kind of irritated me that there was a bit of pooling at the top, but it doesn't bother me so much. Like, once I got going, you can see that it started to spiral instead of pool, and I was more okay with that. And I'm okay with that little bit of pooling at the top. It doesn't bother me quite so much anymore. But I'm almost to the halfway point, and at the halfway point, I'm going to switch to a solid black, and this is Stroll Fingering Weight by Knit Picks, and it is 75% fine superwash merino wool and 25% nylon. And I'm going to do the other half in solid black so that once it's doubled up and everything, it'll be reversible. So one way it will be a black hat with a black and orange brim, and the other way it will be a black and orange hat with a solid black brim because you fold the brim. So I'm kind of excited about that. This has been in my backpack knitting because I can't knit it when my husband is home because he might see, and I want it to be a surprise. So I've been taking it everywhere, and it's just round and round in stockinette right now. So I just keep measuring it, and I'm almost to the halfway, so I'm almost to where I'm going to change to black. This was an instance of I should have believed the pattern. I second guessed the pattern because it looked so small in circumference when I finished the increases for the adult medium, and I was like, there's no way, like, that's so tiny. And I kept trying to stretch the stitches out and look at it, and it just seemed so small, but it probably would have actually been perfect. So this is the adult large, and I don't think this is going to be bad because once you've doubled it up, by stuffing it inside itself, and then you fold the brim and everything. I'm going to mess my hair up again. Here we go. So you can see it's not super loose, but it's not tight either. And the way the hat is designed, it's actually supposed to stick up, and then it's got that folded stuff. So, I mean, his head is bigger than mine, but his head is by no means giant, so we'll see. Hopefully it's good and it stays, and I'm going to be like fussing with my hair now because that's twice that I have put something on my head, and God only knows what the back of my hair looks like anymore. Whatever. Doesn't matter. You're here for the knitting, not for my hair. I mean, maybe you're here for my hair. I don't know. If you're interested, I have all kinds of things to say about the hair dyeing process. I don't do it myself. I have somebody do it. But, like, if you do have crazy colored hair and you're wondering how to maintain it, I have some things to say about that. So that was my other cast on since last time, and it is going swimmingly. And I was really thinking I was not going to get a pair of socks done because I'm just so slow at socks for my husband. So it was better to do something that I am going to get done. And in this case, the yarn is going to be more visible because he'll wear it on his head, and maybe he'll wear it more than he would wear socks. And I don't even know. So I'm excited about that. I have one more thing that you've seen before, but I actually, so this was the first sock in my sister's cabled boot socks. And I got to the point where I have turned the heel and I have picked up the stitches and I am ready to do the gusset decreases and the rest of the foot. And that part usually goes quicker for me. So almost a finished pair, almost another finished Christmas present. So that is good, very good. But I worked on these in the car this week. We had to run some errands to a neighboring city. But I am so happy to have made some progress. And I just suck at second socks. So it really just took telling myself, no, you're going to work on this. Like, you have to. So luckily, since my husband was going to be in the car, I couldn't work on his Musselburgh hat, or Musselburgh, whatever it is. I couldn't work on that hat because he was going to be sitting right next to me. So, and it's been my go-to for mindless knitting. I do get car sick, so I don't do anything super complicated in the car usually. So I was not going to try and work on that Strya pattern where I need to keep track of every single row. Incidentally, that pattern comes with a pattern tracking page that is pretty much what I used to do by writing the pattern out for myself. And it has all the rows, and it tells you, based on your size, what row you're increasing in. And you can just check the little box as you get to each row, and it tells you when to change colors. And it tells you like which color, because it's written for 4 colors in the stripes. I'm using 5, so I actually went through and wrote my colors in order on there. But the pattern tracking page is basically exactly what I used to do for myself, except this one comes with the pattern, and so you just print it out, and it's excellent. So highly recommend. But these will be done before the next episode. Am I going to cast something else on tonight? Probably. So I know I've talked before about wanting to do a Christmas ranunculus, and it's almost Thanksgiving in the US, and I haven't done it yet. And if I'm going to do one, I want to be able to wear it for most of the month of December. I realize it's not going to coordinate super well with my hair this time, but that's okay. So I've shown this before I caked it up. I showed it in a skein. This is a merino silk DK, and it was dyed by Southern Skeins. It was from last year's Christmas box, and it is red and green, but kind of in a pastel-y way. So the green in there is very light. There's lots of where the red fades to pink and white. But I'm going to cast on a ranunculus with this, hopefully this evening, because I want to have it for holiday events. So I need to do that. The ranunculus pattern, as anyone who's ever knit it knows, is super addictive. The yoke just goes so fast. My plan is to do what I've done with a number of recent sweaters, and I'm going to do the yoke, I'm going to separate for sleeves, and then because this is a hand-dyed yarn and I don't really want to have to alternate skeins in the yoke, I'm going to do the yoke with this ball, and then I am going to actually do the sleeves both with the other ball, and then with what's left, I am going to do the one row at a time, the alternating skeins, in the body, so that there's not a harsh transition line in the body. But I think it'll be less noticeable if there's a bit of transition in the sleeves, because the sleeves will be identical, and then the body, like as it goes down from the sleeve split, I can alternate to mix them together. So that is my plan. They don't look super different when I held them next to each other. There doesn't seem to be distinctly more dark in one than the other, but just in case, we'll see. But that is my plan for this, and I do, hopefully, if I get the seaming done tonight, get to cast this on and get it started. It would be lovely if I could get the majority of it done over Thanksgiving break, but obviously I'll have the kids home from school, and we always put our Christmas tree up on Friday after Thanksgiving. So we'll have Thanksgiving on Thursday and hopefully get the house decorated for Christmas on Friday. And the kids are old enough that they get excited to help, at least with some of it. And that's just, it's a tradition I really like, because I like being able to enjoy the decorations all month. And one of my favorite things is, like, we have a Christmas tree with just white lights, is being able to turn the Christmas tree on and all the other lights off and just have like the fairy light magic of the Christmas tree and nothing else on. So I am looking forward to that. I like to make it special for the kids also. I'll need to be setting up their advent calendar, which I do every year, and I'll need to be making my husband's advent calendar, which I do every year. And it's a beer advent. I go to a local store that is awesome. They're called Beer Garden, and they will let you buy anything in the store as a single. You don't have to buy a whole 4-pack or 6-pack of anything. So I can go through and pick and choose like interesting, different things, all as singles. And then I use wine boxes, actually. The store gives them to me. They're used to me coming in and doing this, and they're really awesome about it. I put each one, a wine box holds 12 bottles, so there's 12 little spaces. So I get 2 wine boxes, and I put the beers in it, and then I wrap them, and I use washi tape to separate the 12 little spaces so that it's kind of like a punch out thing, so that he can like punch a hole and grab one for each day. And it's just become a fun tradition. I've done it for a few years, and it's a lot of fun. So I will have my Creative Knitter Advent, which will be so awesome, and I'm super excited about it. And then the kids will have their activity one, and my husband will have his beer one, and we kind of just make a celebration of the entire month of December all the way up till Christmas, and that's a lot of fun. I have one last thing to share with you. I did a Christmas-themed exchange with a lady on Ravelry. We met through actually the Ravelry group for knitting traditions. There's a swap thread, and she asked if anyone would be interested in doing a Christmas swap. And I said, yes, please, I would. And she's in the UK, in Edinburgh, I think. And so we sent our packages really early, because the last package I actually sent a surprise to Brogan of Woolly Witchcraft, and I didn't tell her it was coming, and it took 56 days to get there from the day I mailed it. And so we were a little bit worried about the overseas shipping, because things had just been a little crazy. I had shipped that exchange package to the friend in Norway, and that one also took weeks. So who knows? We'll see. But I think that one took a little over a month to get to Norway. But anyway, we shipped super early, so then we were both staring at these packages that had come, and we were like, okay, we were going to wait till December 1st, and then we started messaging, and we decided not to wait. So just this last week, we opened them, and I would like to share what she sent with you. If acquisitions are not your thing, thank you for coming, and I really appreciate you spending some time with me. Leave a comment letting me know what you were working on, or what your plans are coming up. Just anything. Feel free to be chatty. But the exchange box. So she packed a lot into this tiny little box, and yes, we did originally plan to wait till December 1st. So that was a pretty little card with a note on it. She sent me some chocolates. So this is a Lindt snowflake, and it looks delicious. I've had to resist eating all the chocolate so far. This is white chocolate with raspberries. Doesn't that sound amazing? Sounds amazing to me. This I did break into because I just had to try it. So I love Yorkshire tea. I especially love their bedtime brew. And this one is breakfasty toast and jam. And it, honest to God, does taste like toast and jam. Like, I don't know how they do that. But it's amazing, and I really love it. It is definitely a lot stronger than the bedtime brew. But I like Yorkshire tea a lot, so I was super excited to see that, and I had never tried this one before. There was also a Cadbury Puds. I think it's supposed to be short for pudding. Anyway, never had one before, so I'm super excited about that. There's a snowflake progress keeper. Isn't that cute? And that came from Cozy Barn Yarn. And then check out this Hedgerow Yarns hand-painted and hand-dyed yarn. Luxe High Twist Sock. 85% superwash extra fine merino. 15% nylon. 100 grams is 360 meters. And the colorway is called Little Christmas Tree. And it's like the multicolored Christmas lights on a tree, and just those speckles are just scrumptious. And it's like, I can't decide if it's going to be a pair of socks or if it really needs to be seen better than that, because it's just gorgeous. I'm just so excited about the yarn. Like, I might have squealed a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, there's the sachet of Yummy Smells. a adorable little Christmas dish. Collect your trinkets, put your stitch markers in, put your rings on, and then a project bag. And she made the project bag herself, and it is drawstring and is perfect size for socks or hats or little things. And she lined it with this fun and festive fabric. Look how cute that is. And did you see, on this side, there's chickens wearing sweaters. Look at that. Isn't that cute? Chickens wearing sweaters. I was a little too excited about the chickens wearing sweaters. We have chickens, and I always think little chicken accessories are really cute and hilarious. So that was our Christmas swap, and now that I have shown you guys, I can totally break into the goodies because yum. And like I said, I've already broken into the tea. I had a cup of it this morning, actually, but I'm past my caffeine cutoff for the day, so no more today. And then, okay, I did open this. If she's watching, I'm sorry, it says December 1st, but I opened it anyway. And it is actually a little countdown advent calendar. So it has little tiny windows to pop open to see cute things. I assume to see cute things because, like, I haven't opened any of them because we're not to December 1st yet. But I am very excited about doing so. I haven't even located the one on here yet. The first one is going to be right there in the corner, that tiny little, the numbers are super tiny, but I'm totally going to set this on like the hallway table so that I can pop one open each morning. And then she wrote a really sweet note on the inside, and I don't even know where she got a Christmas card this as early as we did this, because we shipped the end of September. I looked for Christmas cards and didn't find them here. I found plenty of Christmas stuff and was able to send, like, I sent a sock set and some progress keepers and stitch markers and a little Christmas tree and all kinds of silly things. But hopefully she loved everything as much as I loved what she sent me. I do not have any other acquisitions this time. I've been very good and not bought anything. My last yarn shipment I showed you last video, and it was that bulky yarn that is so beautiful, but probably going to have to wait until at least January before I do anything with it. So in becoming part of the podcast community, even just the watching, like the viewer part of the community, I've learned so many knitting traditions that I didn't even, and I say traditions, modern traditions. Apparently Christmas Eve cast on is a thing. It seems like most people do socks, but I keep seeing all these Christmas Eve cast on patterns and things, and I was like, you're supposed to have time to sit down and cast something on Christmas Eve? I don't know, maybe it's just that I have a big family and we do a lot of stuff. By the time we get home from all the family things, and then I get the kids read to and into bed and set all the things up and, you know, make the magic for the next morning, I'm like, it's bedtime. Goodness. Because it's not like the kids are going to sleep in the next morning. They're going to bounce right out of bed and be like, Santa came. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll try and do a Christmas Eve cast on, but it'll be like early in the day. It will not be like late at night. I don't know. We'll see. I do usually end up spending some time on Christmas Day sitting around knitting while the rest of the family's kind of relaxing, watching a movie. We'll kind of all lounge together at my parents' house and turn something on that the kids can enjoy, but that the grown-ups enjoy too, and just everybody will lay around in their food coma and enjoy the time together, because that's what we really like, is the fact that we all get to spend time together. I love giving gifts, but honestly, the best part is just spending time with everyone, and some of our family who doesn't live here being able to come in from out of town and everything. Like, that's what I look forward to the most, is just getting to see everybody. So maybe I'll put a little less pressure on myself knitting wise there were other things on my list that I wanted to make, but I never got cast on. And nobody's going to know the difference. But, maybe I just won't pressure myself. Oh, I had another almost finished object that I never even brought out. I did almost finish that baby sleeper, the wearable blanket type baby sleeper. I have not put the loops, the fastening loops on there yet. And you make those by taking a piece of yarn and putting it around your finger and then basically sewing around. I guess you do it 4 times around and through the fabric, and then you sew around the 4 strands. Anyway, you make the loop, the button loop, out of the same yarn that you make the whole rest of it out of. So I'll have to get that done, and then I'll show an actual final, here it is, finished, because I totally forgot to bring it out this time. But no big deal. I think that that's all I have for today. Thank you for joining me, and I hope that you're working on something fun that brings you pleasure, and I hope that you had some time to relax this weekend or whenever your downtime typically is. I look forward to chatting with you. You can look me up on Instagram, Ravelry. I have a group for the podcast, and those knit-alongs are still going on. We still have the finish along, which obviously that big purple sweater is part of the finish along, because Lord knows that is my longest languishing WIP, I think. At least the most important long languishing WIP. And then we also have the elf mail knit along. And we do have 2 bags from the Tangled Skein in Canada. Crafty Knitter 7. One of them looks like this and one's a different pattern. But they are snap bags that are sock size, and that they're just like what I have my sister's socks in right now. And you can fold the tops down so that when you're sitting there knitting, it's more like a little basket next to you. And then when you need to go, snap it closed. Or Inga of Knitting Traditions likes to cross snap it, because then nothing can fall out. So you can also cross snap it if you're afraid of any notions running away. That does secure it pretty well. So we have one of these for the finish along and one of these for the elf mail knit along. And then she also sent stitch marker sets and progress keepers with both of them, I think. So those will be part of it. And then additionally with the elf mail knit along, there will be a drawing for someone to win her other sweater pattern, which is actually in my queue. And I think that I may have decided to use the yarn that I was originally going to use for the sea glass tee for her other pattern for Danny Miga. I'm probably mispronouncing that, and I'm sorry. But anyway, she has kindly donated a coupon code for a free download of that pattern to someone for the knit along. So I will also draw for that. And for that one, you don't have to be finished. Just participating in the knit along, posting about it in the group or on Instagram, like just participating. So if you are working on an elf mail, be sure to add the hashtag to your Instagram photos or come chat about it in the Ravelry group and be entered for that pattern drawing. And who knows, there might be other prizes. Sometimes I like to come up with surprise things to send to people, so we'll see. Anyway, once again, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you being here. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Take care.